I couldn't believe it when my brother went missing. Of all places, it had to be Chuck E. Cheese, the place where we celebrated countless birthdays, where he always loved to play games and win tickets for those cheap plastic prizes that felt unreal. I decided to investigate. The police were involved, but they weren't making much progress. I couldn't just sit around and wait. I started by talking to the staff and other parents who were there the night he disappeared. No one saw anything suspicious. The kids were running around. It was easy to lose track of them, but my brother never wandered off. So day one of my investigation, I returned to the Chuck E. Cheese, trying to act casual. I spent hours watching the animatronics on stage, the mechanical mascots of so many childhood memories. They were so creepy up close, their eyes seemed to follow me. I noticed something odd though. The place was emptier than usual. Fewer families, fewer kids. It felt eerie. That day, I went back home after not finding anything new. On day two, I decided to snoop around a little bit more. I found a staff-only room near the kitchen. Inside it was a labyrinth of corridors and storage rooms. I found old costume boxes and some unused prizes, but nothing out of the ordinary. As I was leaving, I swore I heard whispers. I turned, but there was nothing there, just the hum of the air conditioning. So I went home that day too. On day three, I interviewed a few ex-employees I found online. One of them was a teenager named Mike. Seemed particularly nervous when I talked to him. He mentioned something about the animatronics being weird at night. He said they moved on their own, even when turned off. He quit because it freaked him out. I thought it was just his imagination, but something about his tone made me uneasy. After that, on day four, I came back after closing time. I managed to hide in the storage room until everyone left. The place was pitch dark, the only light coming from the street lamps outside. Following the only lead I had, I crept towards the stage area, my flashlight casting long shadows. That's when I heard it, a faint rustling behind the curtain. I pulled it back and my heart almost stopped. The animatronics were moving, but not mechanically. Their movements were too fluid, too lifelike. I stepped closer and one of them turned to look at me. Its eyes weren't glassy and dead. They were real, alive, and filled with twisted intelligence. I stumbled back, tripping over something. When I looked down, I saw a half-open trap door. I had to see what was down there. The animatronics were advancing, but I managed to scramble down the ladder. The basement was a nightmare. Cages lining the walls inside were twisted, grotesque animals, some of them part human. My heart pounded as I realized the truth. The animatronics weren't robots. They were real animals, twisted and experimented until they resembled the mascots. In the far corner, I found my brother. He was alive, but barely. I managed to free him, my hands trembling. We had to get out. I could hear the animatronics clambering down the ladder behind us. We sprinted through the basement, finding a back exit that led to an alley. We made it out, gasping for air. My heart was pounding as I ran down the alley, my brother stumbling beside me. We had escaped, but I knew the animatronics were close behind. The only thought in my mind was to get out somewhere safe, somewhere where I could call the police and show them the horrors we discovered. We ducked into an old warehouse at the end of the alley. It was dark and smelled of damp and decay, but it offered temporary refuge. I quickly dialed 911, explaining the situation as best I could. The operator seemed skeptical, but promised to send help. My brother was shaking, his eyes wide with fear. They were alive, he whispered. I thought they were going to kill me. I hugged him tightly, trying to reassure him, we're safe now. The police will come. They'll shut that place down. But deep down, I wasn't so sure. We could hear the animatronics outside, their metallic footsteps echoing in the night. I knew we couldn't stay hidden for too long. The warehouse was old, its walls thin. I had to find a way to protect us. An idea began to form in my mind. It was risky, but it might be our only chance. I grabbed some rags and wrapped them around a piece of metal pipe. I doused the rags in gasoline and created a makeshift torch. We have to destroy them. I told my brother, we have to burn that place down. Together we snuck back into the Chuck E. Cheese. The animatronics were still searching for us. We stayed in the shadows, moving as silently as we could. We reached the back of the door of the building, the same one we escaped from. I took a deep breath and lit the torch. We slipped inside, the smell of gasoline filling the air. We quickly moved, splashing gasoline on the walls, the floors, stage. The creatures were inside now. Their eerie eyes followed our every move. I could hear their low growls, feel their eyes boring into my back. With one final desperation act, I hurled the torch into the middle of the room. The flames caught instantly, roaring to life. The animatronics screeched, their inhumane cries filling the air. The fire spread rapidly, engulfing the room in a matter of seconds. We ran, the heat of the flames licking our backs. Outside, I turned to watch as the building was consumed by fire. The animatronics were visible through the windows, their twisted forms withering in the agony as they burned. The police arrived moments later, pulling us to safety. I tried to explain, but I knew it sounded insane. They saw the fire, saw the charred remains of the creatures inside. The truth was undeniable. In the days that followed, the story made headlines. The police launched an investigation uncovering a network of twisted experiments that had been taking place underneath the innocent facade of a children's arcade. The building was reduced to ashes, the horrors within destroyed. But at night, I could still hear their screams, still see their twisted forms in my nightmares. The Chuck E. Cheese was gone, but the terror it had would haunt me forever.